In the UK, we've ousted our incumbent government, and there are elements of the Conservative Party that I think have mainstreamed a lot of these ideas. Various Jewish groups criticise Suella Braverman very heavily for her consistent use of the phrase cultural Marxism and attempted to explain to her the actual card-carrying Nazi roots of that term. So we've ousted the Conservative Party. We've now got a Labour Party in power. Starmer's tactics to push back against the far right all seem to be focused on delivery and sort of rebuilding people's trust in politics. But these are kind of slow burn tactics. And in an age of disinformation, do we need a more rigorous and immediate approach to push back against this?
I think definitely the first thing that we need on the one hand is we need to call out these groups as for what they really are. And I think there's not enough understanding of that. That's why I wrote the book, is because I think there isn't really a kind of understanding, wait a minute, where are these groups come from, how do they work? Even Nigel Farage, who's a major political figure in this country, people who vote for him have no idea how he has actually evolved and grown and who he's been working with. They don't know. And they should know. They should know what he really stands for in that respect, because it's not just about what you say, it's what you do and who you hang out with. That speaks a lot about what you're really about. And that's what I think people are missing. So there's one element, which is we need better understanding of what actually is happening. The other thing that I think needs to happen is when it comes to the change that parties like Labour are talking about, the biggest kind of thing that is missing is transformation. Right. We talk about change. I mean, even the language of change has become so stale since like Obama kind of made hope and change, hope and change, hope and change. Literally every liberal party since then has kept using the same language. But do we feel that there is hope and change? Do ordinary people experience hope and change? I don't think majority of people vote for Trump unnecessarily would identify themselves as, I'm a Nazi, I'm a racist, I don't like anyone. They definitely was weaponizing racist ideas and racist memes to push people to take these, to kind of take those positions. But the reason people, I think the biggest driver it was, people were living from paycheck to paycheck. They're not seeing an improvement in their lives. They're not seeing, and that's the biggest issue. Whereas when you look at what happened when Trump came back, it's extraordinary because Trump successfully packaged himself as, I'm the guy who's going to tear everything down. This system, this deep state or whatever administrative state as they call it, that big thing that is here, I'm going to tear it all down. And people liked that language. They looked at him and thought, oh, you kind of feel like the outsider guy who's going to tear everything down. And it made Biden-Harris administration look like, oh, we're just the status quo guys tinkering with the system, which is insane. Because you look at what Trump actually stands for, and he's got the biggest number of billionaires in his party. If you look at what the policy agenda they're proposing, it's not going to help working people. It's going to do it worse. But here's the interesting thing that I see. It's not going to work, right? Because Trump already failed. He came in once. We had the pandemic. We had all this stuff. He couldn't deal with it. He mismanaged these crises. We're in this new era. People call it the polycrisis. All the things kicking off: climate, energy, food, the economy, blah, blah, blah. It's all getting worse, blah, blah, blah. It obviously shows that the system in itself is not working. We need a massive change. We need real systemic transformation. And I think that's where we're at. We're at this point where people are just fed up. And they're going to vote you out if you can't deliver transformation. They can't experience it in our lives. So my hunch is we're going to go through this quite dangerous inflection point where a lot of the stale, pale, whatever kind of ways of doing things, they're going to keep trying to do it in the same old way, and it's not going to work. But when these guys come in, they exploit that. Whether it's Farage, whether it's Trump, they come in. But are they going to offer change? No way. Look at what Musk's proposal, the Musk and Trump proposal, is insane. They're going to, tear $3 trillion of the federal budget they want to eliminate from the government. It's absolutely nuts. When I calculated the GDP implications of that, it's something like a quarter of America's GDP would literally be eviscerated. I don't think Americans are going to sit there and be like, yeah, that's fine. People are going to get angry. They're going to get upset at the government. People are desperate for real change. And that's an opportunity. Now, Keir Starmer and his government need to be ready to think outside the box and start acting now. And if they don't do that within this next 4 years, then there is a real risk that they'll face that at the next election. Why do we want to go through this process of swinging between a tepid liberal approach and an insane extreme far-right approach until we get to the point where we wake up and say, guys, that was insane. Can we get off the roller coaster now and do something actually sane? We should just do it now. Now, I think Starmer has that opportunity. He needs to act.